Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 169 of Crunch Time with the N3260. I'm your host, Sam Godsey, and with me today, as always, is Tanner Dislin. Tanner, how you feeling tonight?
I mean, I'm feeling great, Sam. I'm feeling great. Got the Knicks hat on, of course, up 3-1 in the series, took game four. Um, I'm really excited right now, man. Obviously, there's some more stuff to talk about there, more so than just the play on the court. But the moral of the story here, Sam, is they took two in Boston, took one at home, and now are one win away from closing out the series over Boston to head to the conference finals. It's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be diving into the NBA playoffs a little later on in the episode, but we got an action-packed episode for y'all. We're going to be diving into some winners and losers of the episode. Talk a little MLB rivalry between us two that happened this past weekend, and of course, finish off with some NBA playoff talk. So, Tanner, let's kick it off as we always do. Who is your winner of the episode?
Yeah, Sam, we got some interesting news today, actually recording on Tuesday, a couple hours before we decided to hop in the studio here, and that is big coming out of the MLB commissioner's office. Mr. Rob Manfred, a very divisive figure in the baseball community. But the MLB is lifting the ban on a lot of the individuals on the ban list for the Professional Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. And notably, the big name on that list, of course, is Pete Rose, the all-time hits leader, who unfortunately passed in September. So we'll not get to see his name go into Cooperstown, but a pretty significant movement for someone who, yeah, was banned from Cooperstown, an all-time player. Like I said, has the most hits in MLB history, and now is eligible for the Hall of Fame. Now there are a bunch of others who also got lifted. I think in total there are 16, but notably is Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson for his role in the Black Sox scandal of 1919, in which he hit almost 400, by the way. But yeah, those two being lifted, I mean, obviously neither of them are around to see this, but definitely is a step in the right direction. So, in a sport that is so stuck in their ways historically, we know the steroid era and that effect on the Hall of Fame, but now we've got a few people that actually have made progress to the Hall of Fame for their contributions to the game, and that's generally a good thing. So, very very good news.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like I didn't know much about Shoeless Joe Jackson, but Pete Rose was always a name that has been mentioned uh, of like why is this dude not in the Hall of Fame? I mean, yeah, gambling gambling's not great, but I mean it is what it is with the whole gambling. But finally, Manfred it seemed did something right for once. So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
And the thing about gambling, I understand. I totally understand the firm stance. You can't have anything with gambling. I get it when you have a sport. But I think there's a very clear difference between, betting on your own team and then betting on the other team and throwing games. And Pete Rose did not throw games, But anyway, definitely like we've said multiple times, step in the right direction for sure. So yeah, like you said, one thing Manfred actually did right.
Yeah, absolutely. For my winner of the episode, I'm gonna go to the Stanley Cup playoffs with perhaps the hottest hockey player right now, and I'm gonna butcher his name, but it none other than Mikko Rantanen for the Dallas Stars.
You nailed that last name. Rantanen is his last name.
Look at me.
Well
I'm a
done.
puck guy,
Well
but he
done.
has been on an absolute tear. The Dallas Stars are up 3-1 on the Winnipeg Jets, and he has been unreal. 17 points, 9 goals, 2 hat tricks, 2 game-winning goals. First player in NHL history with a hat trick in the third period of a game 7. First player in NHL history with 4-point periods in back-to-back games. And he's done all that in a 6-game stretch. He is absolutely on a tear. If you talk to anyone associated with hockey right now, or the avid hockey fans, everyone is in agreement that Mikko is the best on the ice right now. And that's saying a lot for who is still in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But dude's on an absolute tear right now.
Yeah, and funny you mentioned the game 7 performance. Dallas went 7 games with the Avalanche, with Colorado. Mikko Rantanen started the year on the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah,
was traded in January.
It's a crazy story.
Was traded in January to the Hurricanes, who then traded in March to Dallas and got to play him first round. Kicked their ass in game 7, sent them packing.
That's got
to feel really good. And now, and is now helping them. Now helping the Stars go up in a lead in the second round. So really impressive stuff. Really impressive stuff.
Now, let's switch over to the other side of things. Tanner, who is your loser of the episode?
Yeah, so this is one we absolutely have to talk about. And this could lead to a little bit of a longer conversation, which I do kind of want to have, because I don't know if we've ever talked about this exactly, kind of your thoughts on our thoughts on how this is set up. But of course, the second biggest news coming out of basketball on Monday night, other than what we'll talk about later, was the draft lottery, because we had that. And obviously this was a pretty big one. With Cooper Flag as the top prospect, the biggest ones in 2 years since Wembanyama was the top prospect. And the way it shook out, the 3 worst teams in basketball, each with a 14% chance of winning the lottery, they're picking 4, 5, and 6. And the team that won has been in the headlines a lot recently. And who else would it be than the Dallas Mavericks, who had a 1.8% chance? There are so many things to talk about on this. First, what are your thoughts?
The whole story around this is that there might be some rigging going on. And to be honest with you, Tanner, there's been this conversation for years. But this is a pretty damn convincing one. You mentioned those 3 teams, the Hornets, Jazz, and the Wizards being the ones with 14%.
Only 3 teams with less than 20 wins, and they're picking 4, 5, 6.
But look at the markets: Charlotte, Salt Lake City, and DC. Which DC is so weird. Why the NBA doesn't push that to be a better team? Agreed. Because it is such a big market. But Dallas, obviously, with everything's going on with the whole Nico Harrison, Luka Doncic, and everything, it's absolutely absurd being in a big market. It's getting to the point where I'm kind of believing the allegation for sure.
Is really freaking sketchy. So not only is it sketchy that the team that made the finals last year traded away its young superstar, generational talent, overnight with no whispers, no reporting, and no contact to other teams, traded it to probably the biggest brand in all of basketball, and with the greatest player of our generation on that team as he's aging. So that's already sketchy. We've talked about that a lot. And then it's just even more sketchy that team was now given the number 1 overall pick. Now, can you think of a player recently that was traded to the Lakers in a blockbuster trade? This one wasn't as surprising. Both traded to the Lakers in a blockbuster trade that really helped out LeBron James in his tenure with the Lakers.
AD
Anthony Davis. What team was he traded from?
Pelicans.
Who won the lottery the next year?
Pelicans.
Who did they draft? Zion Williamson. It's getting really sketchy.
Yeah, I was listening to mostly sports with on Barstool podcast today. They even went back further. D Rose from Chicago got drafted by Chicago. You can even make the case for LeBron,
From
Akron
Cleveland
kid, got
or from
drafted
Akron.
to the hometown team. It's really interesting
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
really interesting. And honestly, like obviously any sort of rigging is a real problem, but just as like I'd be way more willing to like, I don't know, I guess accept it if it was just like, oh, he's from there, this team's bad, let's just like rig it. Like
Yeah,
obviously that's a problem, but I'm like, okay, whatever. If the last two being, hey, trade your superstar to the Lakers and we will reward you with the number
yeah,
one overall pick is so unbelievably sketchy. Now I'm not saying that's what they did. The proof is in the pudding right now. That is 2 times this has happened, and it's really, really bizarre that this happened. And again, just at least with the AD stuff, it was like he was marketed for half a season. They opted not to trade him at the deadline, right? Because they traded him in the offseason. So like that one was at least like, okay, teams are in the mix.
mm-hmm.
This one is so unbelievably sketchy. So unbelievably sketchy. And you could see a world in which the league was like, hey, if you trade him to the Lakers, we'll give you the number one overall pick. You can get Cooper Flag. You can, you'll get a haul in return, and then you can run with that. Really sketchy stuff. So it's hard not to see that happening. Again, they jumped 10 spots, 1.8% chance. Now, is there anything else you want to talk about specifically to the Mavs? Other than how this looks, because it looks, again, I said this word a million times, it's sketchy.
As now another avenue, yes, Cooper Flag, number one pick. Guess who's becoming a free agent this offseason?
Luka is, right?
And I think Giannis free agent,
Giannis,
or
yeah.
is he
I think
asking
he's.
out?
I think the odds are he's going to
Either
ask
way,
out.
the point still stands. Is it to get Giannis a better package deal to bring Giannis to a bigger market like Dallas? It's just a whole lot of sketchy stuff for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, no, it is. It is for sure. Now, for the record, I'm putting it out there, plain black and white. I don't think they rigged this because I don't like all of these professional sports are like whenever something happens that affects their team, everyone tweets, "Oh, blank is rigged, blank is rigged." Imagine being a player who worked your whole life to make it to the professional league, and then you're told, "Yeah, your entire life that you worked for, you're gonna be out of the league in 2 years because we're gonna rig it for teams that you're not on." Like they just know, and they have to pay every single past player off enough to where they don't open their mouth, being like, "Yeah, this is rigged." Like I don't think that's the case. I don't think professional sports are rigged. But my God, does this look bad?
Yeah.
And why on earth? Why on earth is the drawing not on TV?
Yeah,
Can you
that's
explain that to
really
me?
weird.
That is so bizarre.
Because it used to be.
Like it's so bizarre.
Yeah.
And especially for the NBA. And do you think like when Adam Silver drew this, or I don't even know if he's the one who does it, but whoever is the one who drew this, they were like, the first reaction was like, yes, we got him in a big market. First reaction was like, oh boy, this is gonna look bad. Like I want to know what their reaction was because yeah, it just looks so bad.
Yeah.
It looks so damn bad. Now, again, yeah, and anything else with the Mavericks specifically? Because again, that situation is again
No,
very, very so. Looks so bad. Now, I kind of want to talk about the lottery system as a whole on whether you're pro or anti, or neither, or just kind of it is what it is.
I think there's flaws. I know why they do it.
For sure.
Why they do it's to prevent tanking, but I also think it should be just the top 3 picks, 3 worst teams,
Sure.
even split,
Yeah. Worst you can get is
or
3.
top four odds. make it even. Everyone has a 25% chance at one, and then go from there. I don't really understand why the top 13 teams
Sure.
are part of the
Teams
lottery.
that play in the play-in have a chance to
Yeah,
get the number one overall.
yeah. But I mean, there's I don't really like the system they have right now, but I think it could be way better than it is. I'll
Yeah.
say that.
Okay. Because I have some pretty strong thoughts about this. Because number one, I totally get the vision. No one hates tanking more than me. Now granted, I never competed at anywhere near a high level, but as someone who played sports, the fact that going into a game and hoping to lose is unfathomable to me. As a competitor, as a fan, obviously that's a different story because you're rooting for your team's best interest long term. But that is unfathomable to me, and I think it should be eradicated from all sports. However, I don't know if it works because, to be honest with you, are you telling were those three teams not tanking this year?
Weren't tanking?
Do you think they were tanking this year, or were they? Do you think they actively said, "Oh, because there's a draft lottery"?
No, I don't think so.
Because
I think they were just bad.
at the end of the day, right, and that's at the end of the day, in order to get the best odds for the first pick, you lose as many games as possible. So it's the same outcome. I just don't think it works as well to just discourage general tanking. And I also think the punishment is in the wrong place because tanking, again, at any point, I think when teams tank, GMs purposefully craft a terrible team and they tell that the players are not actively trying to lose on the court. I acknowledge that's just not happening. The coach is not actively trying to lose because their job is at stake. It's the GM and the higher ups who have crafted a terrible team to lose to be able to draft high, right? So, I don't think it incentivizes GMs enough to not craft terrible teams, and I don't think you're punishing GMs. I think you're punishing fans, Wizards fans, Hornets fans. They're all devastated right now.
Yeah,
and the GM, obviously he's probably damn. But who cares? Who do you think is more devastated, the GM or the fans? I'm buying the fans.
Yeah.
100%. And I just think it disproportionately punishes loyal fans when their team just can't seem to make it out of the lottery, and it sucks. So I don't think it discourages tanking as much as it probably should, or as to match the punishment it gives to the fans. And it sucks, and it's really hard to create competitive balance in the NBA when this is happening.
Yeah.
And a couple of the most recent, since the NBA changed its lottery system in 2019, which is when we got the three teams all at 14%. The team with the league's worst record has never won the lottery and never picked first overall. And this is the third straight year that team with the worst record is picking fifth, which is its lowest possible draft spot. That's a problem, man.
Yeah.
That is a problem. And I don't think that should be the viable option in the future.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said. Yeah. And I think you nailed it on the head. Tanking is definitely not the best way to fix your team either. I mean, we all remember the process of the 76ers.
Yep.
Look how that
the most
out.
Obvious tank in history didn't turn out at all. And look at the best, the Thunder. Did the Thunder ever have the number one overall draft pick?
No.
Who's their best player? Did they draft him?
No.
Oh, wow. Funny how that works.
Yeah.
Who else is obviously some of these big market, like the Knicks, all their players will be free agents, and the Lakers, all those big market teams will have a lot of free agents and trade targets. But these small market teams that have had success, it does not come from tank.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree, man. It's definitely a very flawed system. And the fact is it's so easy to rig too. If they are rigging it.
Especially if you're not showing the draw.
Yeah. Absolutely absurd. But
and it's just number one pick is Dallas. Source, trust me, bro. They won.
Yeah.
They won. Yeah, they won. Like, huh?
It's
What?
the only ball we have.
Yeah, like it's crazy to me that this is how it happened.
Yeah. The NBA lottery system is will and always will be a loser. But it seems like this team is always going to be a loser. And they are my loser. The Colorado Rockies, Taylor. Uh, this past Saturday was probably
Rock
the
bottom.
worst of it all as they fell to 6-33 after a 21 loss 21-0 loss to the San Diego Padres, matching the 1988 Baltimore Orioles for worst 39 game start in the majors since 1900. Tanner, the Rockies are just absolutely awful. And it just keeps getting worse. It seems like Bill Schmidt, the general manager, is backing the manager, saying uh that our guys are still playing hard, and that's why I look at guys are coming hard every day. They come with energy for the most part. I don't think we are at the point of firing Black. Guys still believe in what we are doing and where we are headed. We are all frustrated. Now they've lost their past 4 games by at least 8 runs and is the first team to allow 10 or more runs in 4 straight games since the 2021 Baltimore Orioles.
So, do you know when he said that? When he supported Bud Black?
May 10th, so 3 days ago.
They fired him yesterday.
No.
They fired him yesterday. So that was a bunch of BS.
Yeah, damn, that's even worse.
Yep, that is even worse. Yeah,
it just keeps getting worse.
7-33. For all those counting, I mean, doing some loose rounding here. Baseball has 162 games. Call it 160. They've played 40. They've won 7. Yeah. So, we're one technically, rounding about 1/4 of the way in. They've won 7 games. That means they're on pace to win 28 games.
Pretty good.
28 games.
Pretty good.
The Mets currently have won 27. As we currently sit, the Dodgers have currently won 27. There are multiple teams that have won essentially their pace currently. Not good. Not good. They are terrible. And it's a shame. It's a real shame. The unfortunate tragedy of the Colorado Rockies is now obviously this is pathetic. They tried to push the chips in and make a big splash. They ended up going with Chris Bryant, which obviously has aged like milk. The tragedy with them though is it's really tough for them to feel a competitive team because no pitcher in the history of baseball, or at least no top line pitcher, will ever sign there because the altitude.
Yeah,
like their starting pitcher today, his ERA at home is over 9. His ERA on the road is, I think, a little bit over 5. And granted, over 5 is not good, but it's nearly double when he's at home. Like it's brutal. So their pitching will usually be not great, but it's tough. It's really tough, and I just feel so bad for Rockies fans. They're a passionate group. Coors Field, I mean, continues to have good attendance, even though the team has been awful for a while. And it's really unfortunate. So Rockies fans, we stand with you. But this team is really bad.
Yeah. And it's not going to get any better anytime soon. It's not like the NBA where you can just plug a player in and you could possibly make the playoffs. Like 9, it seems, now correct me if I'm wrong, you're obviously the MLB guy, but like how many like first couple round draft picks actually play in the MLB their first year?
I can tell you there is literally one, and there's one in the last 5 years, and that was Paul Skeens.
Yeah, which, yeah. So,
And he also was like, he played at Air Force, went to LSU. He was an older prospect.
yeah,
Who had played a lot of college baseball. So it's not common where that happens. So yeah, even if they draft well, that impact is going to be felt 3-4 years down the line.
yeah.
And obviously, as you said, you need more than one good draft to really stock that. And it's going to be a long road and long road for the Rockies, which is again really unfortunate because it's a loyal fan base, it's a passionate fan base that deserves better.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's good, kind of a perfect segue, Taryn. You want to talk about this big series this past weekend?
Yeah, man, it was a pretty awesome series.
Yeah, Mets Cubs played a series this past weekend. Obviously, a little crunch time rivalry here. The Mets are one of the. Are they still the best defensive or top three?
They are. I think they're number one in the MLB in pitching staff ERA.
And then the Cubs are like one of the best offensive teams in the MLB. Tanner and Mets took two of the three. Game one, 7-2 Mets. Game one, excuse me, was Mets 7-2. Game two was 6-5 Cubs. Mets in game three, 6-2. Talk to me about this series, man.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome, as you said, to see something's got to give here, the pitching staff or the offense for the Cubs. Now, it was a pretty awesome series. Could be a sneak preview into a potential playoff series. Game one was really the only game that wasn't close. The Mets kind of jumped on them early, hit three solo shots in the first couple innings. But game two, the game the Cubs won, they jumped out to an early lead, jumped all over Tyler McGill, who had great numbers coming into that game. Mets clawed back. That was the Brett Beatty game. He had two home runs, all 5 RBIs, but the Cubs held on, which is something that, as I'm sure as a Cubs fan, anytime you can win close, because from what I've heard and what I've seen, there's not a lot of trust going on in the bullpen.
Zero.
And over in the north side of Chicago. Then, and then in game three, this final score was 6-2, but the game was way, way closer than that. For a majority of the game, I think for 5 or 6 innings, it was 1-0 Mets, and then Pete Armstrong, of course, it was an absolute lock that he was going to hit a home run against the Mets. Tied it at 1. Mets answered, Cubs answered. It was back and forth. And then Lindor in the top of the ninth with the go-ahead home run, and the Mets added some insurance runs as well. But I mean, overall, a great series. 2 games that were really close. The Cubs obviously was a 1-run game. The Mets game three was a tie game in the top of the ninth at one point. So close competitive series. Mets got the drop on this one, but of course they'll meet in over at Wrigley later in the year, and we'll see if the Cubs can cheer up that bullpen.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of been this story with the Cubs all season. The lack of a bullpen or consistent bullpen. And with 2 of our best starters out, Shota Imanaga, he got injured after the Giants game, but
he was covering first, right?
Yeah, something like that. It's a really weird situation, but he was just placed on the 15-day IL with a mild hamstring strain. So he'll be out for a couple weeks, but he will be back and starting the season. Justin Steele. Those are probably our 2 best pitchers. Not having them is definitely not good, but it's clear that the defensive powerhouse kind of won out in this series.
Yeah, for sure. And also, it's just worth noting that Citi Field in general is known as a pitcher's park. You have the marina and the water right there, so sometimes you get some winds blowing in from left field. They actually, when the stadium was first built in 2009, the left field was a lot farther. They actually moved it in. It was called the Great Wall of Flushing, is what they call it, because it was this huge. It wasn't as big as a Green Monster, but it was like a really
Yeah.
tall fence that was really deep, and it was like, why did we do that? But generally, it's a pitcher's park, so
Yeah.
it played into the Mets' favor for sure. Um, but like I said, they'll meet again in Wrigley. But the only issue for the Cubs now, obviously, we mentioned all the things going on. Injuries are a big concern with that starting pitching staff. The bullpen is a big concern. I still think they're the best team in the Central, but the only problem is the St. Louis Cardinals have caught
Yeah.
absolute fire. They have now won 9 straight, and the Cubs' lead in the Central has been shrunk to one
Yeah.
game. One game, which obviously, like we said before, we are a quarter of the way into the season, so a lot can and a lot will change. But for a team that we said the Cubs should have the Central on lock. They looked like clearing away the best team in that division. Some injuries, Cardinals playing better. Looks like it may now be a competition over there in the Central.
Yeah. The Cubs have a nice little easy stretch after that tough one with the Mets. They got the Marlins these next today and tomorrow to finish off that series, and then they go on to play the White Sox. Obviously a rivalry game, but they suck. So hopefully we get some quality wins, and then we go to Miami to face the Marlins again early next week. So a couple matchups we can hopefully bounce back from. But Tanner, do you know that the Saturday matchup between the Cubs and the Mets was the most watched telecast of the MLB season so far?
I did not know that.
Bringing
Wow.
in over 2 million viewers in their 2 game slate over the weekend on Fox. So shout out the Cubs Mets, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, two division rivals, or not division rivals, division leaders is what I meant to say. Two division leaders clashing. It was a good series for sure. And why wouldn't people want to watch it?
Yeah, absolutely. And two of the most recognizable brands in the MLB. But any more thoughts on the MLB so far this season?
For sure, man. I mean, kind of. I know since we last did our update, things are kind of looking similar. I mentioned the Cardinals. They were a team that really got off to a slow start, have caught absolute fire, which, by the way, coincided with a visit from John Gruden. So
Yeah,
since John Gruden went to the locker room, they have won 9 straight.
course.
Why wouldn't it be? The NL Central is still the same, full of damn good baseball teams. And then the Rockies, or excuse me, NL West is what I meant to say. The NL West is still the same, 4 damn good baseball teams, and then the Colorado Rockies. Um, and yeah, over in the AL, I got to give a shout out to the Mariners. They put together a nice little season so far. I mean, the AL West is a pretty weak division. The Astros aren't what they were. The Rangers, who I thought was going to win the division, their offense looks brutal right now. Corey Seager, they're one of their best players, World Series MVP from 2 years ago. He went on the IL. But the Mariners are sitting 4 games above 500, winning that division, and the Tigers might be the best team in the AL right now. They're awesome. Javi Baez is actually back. He's playing good baseball. That starting rotation, we all know Tariq Skubal, best pitcher in the American League, reigning Cy Young winner, maybe the best pitcher in baseball. But him, they got Jack Flaherty, who they traded. They traded the Dodgers last year at the deadline, got him back in free agency. Seemed like an absolute steal there. And yeah, they're looking really good, man. Thing to note, real home field advantage again in Detroit. They're 15-5 at home at Comerica Park. So it's awesome because Detroit as a city, it gets its jabs here and there. But the Detroit Tigers, again, they have such a loyal fan base. Look at any of those early 2000s Tigers that were going to the World Series. Those playoff series in Detroit were some of the loudest and craziest atmospheres you'll see. So it's really cool to see not only them good again, but that home field kind of filling up again for the Tigers.
Yeah, absolutely. But is that all you got for the MLB, man?
The only thing else I would say is that, Juan Soto or no Juan Soto, the Yankees still mash. Their offense, I think it's kind of been teetering back and forth on who's the best offense in baseball. Yankees, Cubs. I think the Yankees had an offensive explosion on Sunday, and Monday for that matter. So I think they may have overtaken number one in in baseball in terms of offensive numbers, but I believe they're number 2 in the American League in run differential, which is good for second in baseball as well at a plus 81. The only one better is the Tigers, actually, at plus 84. But the Yankees have scored 246 runs, and the next closest would be the Cubs at 238. So, yeah, mashers over in Chicago and then over in the Bronx.
Yeah, absolutely. And Aaron Judge
Aaron
just
Judge is
continues to
stupid.
be unreal.
Aaron Judge is stupid, man. There's no other way to put it. Other big news in the MLB. I know we had talked about this. Aaron Judge being the captain of Team USA for the next World Baseball Classic. Well, USA just announced their ace. I don't know if you saw this.
Mm-mm.
USA's ace for the squad will be none other than one Paul Skeens, who will be playing for the US. So that's really cool to see.
Yeah.
Because in the past, I think we may have mentioned this as well, USA has gotten good hitters, but it's really tough drawing pitching because pitchers are so set in their ways, rightfully so. I mean, you're going to throw, 100 miles an hour 80 times a day. Feels like what you need to do to warm up your arm, especially for a season. They're really stuck in their ways, and the way the World Baseball Classic works is before the season. So pitchers have to be ramped up to throwing that fast that many times by, instead of by mid to late, instead of late March into April, they need to be ready early March to throw that. So it really messes with pitchers, their routines. So a lot of times they don't play, but maybe Judge and Skeens can inspire some homegrown U.S. talent to play, and we can form a juggernaut. Yeah. Japan, who obviously beat us last year in the gold medal match.
Shout out Lars.
Lars Nootbaar, Japanese born.
Absolutely crazy. But you ready to hop on the hardwood, Tim?
Of course, man.
All right. Well, should we start with the big news or should we wait till the end?
I say let's get it out. Let's get it out.
All right, we'll hop right into it. Your New York Knicks take a 3-1 lead over the Celtics. Kind of dominated game 4. But obviously, big news is Jason Tatum went down late in the 4th. The game was kind of already tied up, and the game was over, I should say.
The play. It was an OG steal that Tatum had the non-contact injury, and that dunk. He stole it, went and dunked, and that made it a 9-point game.
Yeah.
So,
and of course, you mentioned non-contact injury came out today. He tore his Achilles.
I think we all knew when we saw it. Yeah.
Anytime non-contact injury happens, it's in that fashion.
He went for the
ankle
and the heel, and it was one where his foot was like a launch forward instead of a lateral movement. He was going forward, and you could tell it was an Achilles for sure.
While that does suck, the Knicks were incredible in game 4. It seems everything is finally coming to fruition for the Knicks. It seems when Jalen Brunson doesn't look for the foul every possession, he actually plays better. Finished with 39 points on 14 for 25 shooting. That's expected, right, Tanner? It was kind of the supporting cast, if you can even call them that. Mikal Bridges finally got going, 23 points. OG 20, Cat 23. Those 4 guys have kind of been, or 3 guys kind of have been up and down throughout this postseason, especially Bridges and OG. But talk to me about their performance. Talk about how you're feeling as a Knicks fan, and how far can this team go?
This was the vision. When this roster was built, this was the vision. To have OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges play elite wing defense, add in 20 points themselves, to have Jalen Brunson be the star, the offense flows through him, and to have Karl Anthony Towns be an elite scoring big man. This was the vision. This was how it was constructed, and this game is how it looks when it works, when they're able to play their roles. Now, the problem is, like each individual person, Brunson has had games where he's really inefficient. Maybe, foul baiting. We mentioned that. Mikal Bridges has had brutal offensive stretches. OG Anunoby, his health has been an issue. He's had tough offensive stretches. Like Karl Anthony Towns has disappeared at times. Like,
yeah,
it's not always looked like this, but when it does, this was absolutely the vision. Now, looking at this box score and just from the eye test, looking at the game, the third quarter is when the Knicks really stepped on the gas. There was not a single substitution made in the third quarter. The New York Knicks, for all of our college basketball fans out there, the New York Knicks are the Maryland of the NBA. I feel like their starting five is really talented. When they're playing their best, which doesn't always happen, they can play with and beat anybody. The bench is a little brutal.
yeah.
Now, they have a spark plug in Mitchell Robinson. The problem is he can't make free throws.
Yeah. Let's talk about that tweet.
That was crazy. That was crazy.
That was like make a wish.
Yeah, they acted like he had a terminal disease. That, like, it was crazy.
For those of you who didn't see it, it was Mitchell Robinson shooting a regular free throw, like not a clutch moment or anything, and New York is going crazy, and it was like Mitchell Robinson up to the free throw line. What some things are bigger than basketball, and it was just like everyone was like, "What the hell?" But I had to shout that out because that was absolutely absurd.
Yeah, it was. I mean, yeah, the fans were clapping as he'd missed a lot in a row, which I get. You want to support your guy.
Yeah.
It's the tweet was tweet. The tweet bigger than basketball.
Yeah,
oh, brother. That was tough. That was really tough look for I think it was ESPN who tweeted it. Real tough look there. But yeah, it's like you bring him in. The hack and Mitch strategy is always on the table. He's not an offensive guy. He's been like throughout the entirety of the series. He's like plus a lot. He is plus a lot when he's on the floor versus when he's off the floor. He's been so good. One of the best offensive rebounders in the game, if not the best. The problem is obviously the hack and Mitch. But having him on the bench is nice. There's a real severe issue with bench scoring with so far in this game. What was it? In game 4, the bench combined for 10 points.
Let's go.
That's an issue. Now, I guess I don't know if it's the good thing is Tom Thibodeau is your head coach, and he will have no problem playing the starters. Health will always be an issue, or a concern, not necessarily an issue, but a concern. But this, like, the starting five can play. Like, and I think from what I've seen, when this starting five is clicking, this starting five can win a championship. They can, especially when the number 1 seed in the East is currently down 3-1 and is battling injury issues themselves. So yeah, that's it's optimistic. It's optimistic for sure. But the bottom line here is this team will go as far as their starting five takes them, and if they play well, they are damn hard to beat.
Yeah, absolutely. Game 5 is tomorrow. Do your Knicks wrap it up?
There's I don't want to be a pessimist. I'm going to say they wrap it up in game 6 because I think there will be some element of, Boston's fighting for their lives. They still have, with no Tatum, they still have a lot of people. Obviously,
the series is not over. Definitely leaning towards the Knicks, but it's not over.
The series is not over, and I think in Boston, I think the players will they're super talented and they have their pride. They're too proud a team, too proud of players to go down. I think in game 5, so I do think they win game 5 at home. But the Knicks might be able to get him in Game 6 in the Garden, which clinching in the Garden to go to the conference finals would be something special.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's talk about the game going on right now, Tanner. The score is 40-23 with about 9 minutes left in the second quarter. Talking Cavs versus Pacers. Tanner, this has been a very weird series. Obviously, Cavaliers talking about injuries. Darius Garland was out. DeAndre Hunter was out. Evan Mobley was out, I believe, for a brief period. But every single one of these games kind of has been, uh, other than game two, they've kind of been kind of washed. Like game one, Pacers took 121 to 112. That game two, I mentioned 120, 119.
That game was shocking.
Yeah. And then game three, 126 to 104. Cavs took that. And we got 15 point. And game four
It was a
was
beatdown.
129 to 109. So kind of talk to me about this series, man. It's really been up and down for both of these teams. But Indiana is up 3-1, but down currently.
Yeah, so we were way wrong. The injuries were more severe than we thought. We talked about how we were not worried about Cleveland, and they were up big. Um, we finished recording. We sat down to watch the rest of the game, and they proceeded to blow it. And Halliburton, with some wizardry down the stretch, made that three when they stole game two, and that was a whoa. What do we have here? Type of win for Indiana. Now, game three, they took care of business. Game four, Indiana beat them down. Very weird series, but I will say all three of the guys you mentioned, Mobley, Garland, and Hunter, are playing in game five currently. I don't know what the health level is, who's 100%, who's not, but they are playing and they're currently up 17. Now, last time we said that, they did end up blowing it, but who knows what we're going to have for the rest of this series. But the fact of the matter is, um, you know, Cleveland is win now. They got to win. It's must wins from here on out. Very, very strange series, but the one to me where this got real was game two when Cleveland choked that away, and it was like, oh boy.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, this Indiana team's fun.
They're
man.
fun. They're really fun.
I mean, it's hard to not think the most overrated player voting did not have an impact on Tyrese Halliburton, because since that has come out, he has been on a absolute tear. He's been incredible. A guy who kind of was lost in the NBA, like since he left Toronto, but just as good as he was, if not better. Pascal Siakam has been a huge piece for this Pacer team. This Pacers team is legit, and they could shock the Cleveland Cavs and win this series, and I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. They do not they don't have the death lineup. They don't have this, obviously Tyrese Halliburton is an incredible basketball player. Tyrese Halliburton can do really clutch things down the stretch, as we've seen. Can Tyrese Halliburton be the best player on a championship roster? Doubtful. He is a damn good basketball player, and he is surrounded by a bunch of just solid, good basketball players, and that's what makes this team fun. They play defense. They make shots. When the bench comes in, there's no real drop off. They're deep. They're all just their play is literally just like a straight line.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's fun, man. That's fun to me. I mean, obviously, I'm always going to love Obi Toppin. And, he provides a spark off the bench. They're just fun. They're really fun, and they don't get the respect they deserve because when Cleveland won game three, I kind of was like, okay, because I was worried about our take when they choked game two. Then they won game three, and I'm like, okay, maybe we're fine. And then they got pummeled into the ground in game four. And that's when I was like, damn, like this Indiana team, man, they can play, and not enough people are respecting them. So while I do think I do think this game has the potential to go 7 with Cleveland getting healthy, but man, Indiana's fun. And I think game 6, if this score holds and we have a game 6 in Indiana, that game is going to rock.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Um, so Indiana's up 3-1. Let's move down to the West. Minnesota taking care of business against the Warriors without Steph Curry. I think he has only played in the first game, got hurt. Hasn't We haven't seen him on the floor since. Um, Timberwolves seem like they are on cruise control. I'd expect them to kind of take care of business game 5 and win this series.
Yeah, I got nothing to add, man. I just got to say, though, I am so unbelievably happy for Julius Randle.
Oh yeah, he's hooping.
I am so happy for Julius Randle. Like, I will always love Julius Randle. He frustrated the absolute hell out of me. He was that first year when the Knicks really kind of asserted that first year under Tibbs when the Knicks that was the Trae Young year when he that we lost to the Hawks in the first round of the playoffs. That was the year where Randall really said he put the Knicks back on the map as a destination of like this team can play. And I will be forever grateful for that. Obviously, we had our frustrations, playoff performances, whatever. Trade him away for Towns, which I would still do. I love Carl Anthony Towns, but I'm so happy that he has found his spot in Minnesota. 31 points in game 4. He had a 24-point triple double in game 3. It's awesome. It's really good. Now, um, hey, the potential of a Knicks Timberwolves finals has got to be like obviously to me it'd be awesome because I'm a Knicks fan. I want the Knicks. I don't care the Knicks are playing the finals. I want them to make it. But the Cat versus the Timberwolves and Randall versus the Knicks would be incredible. But I'm just I the Timberwolves are good. The Warriors without Steph they're lost. And I think the Timberwolves should have no trouble closing the series out for sure. But shout out Julius Randle, man. Love to see him hooping. And Anthony Edwards obviously is that dude.
Yeah, absolutely. And final series we'll talk about probably the weirdest series of them all, Tanner. Thunder Nuggets game 5 is tonight, night of recording. Series tied 2-2. We all saw the game 1 game winner by Aaron Gordon. Thunder came back and said, "I'm gonna punch you in the mouth." Repeatedly won 149 to 106. Then we got another close one, 113 to 104 Nuggets way. And perhaps one of, if not the worst shooting performance in current day playoff history. We got a score where both teams were under 100. Thunder pull it out 92 to 87. Karen, talk to me about this series, man.
I think you mentioned it. Weird series. Weird series. I quite literally like this series is to me is just defined by youth versus age, I guess. I don't know. Experience. I was gonna say veteranism. Yeah. I don't know. Yes. Yes. Youth versus experience because, you know, I don't necessarily think that it's a coincidence that the Thunder came out and, beat the living crap out of them in game 3 when they had that, in the next game after playing a hard fought game 1. Yeah. And the Thunder are just always ready to play, throw more bodies out. Like the legs look younger and more energetic for the Thunder. But then again, when you get into late game situations, it's like it's hard to look at these teams and have confidence that the Thunder more so than the Nuggets have the experience to come out on top, right? Yeah. So that's just a fascinating dichotomy to me. And obviously the Stars playing 2 radically different positions and playing 2 radically different play styles is really fun as well. So and all the games have been good except for game 2. So yeah. It's been a very strange series. I'm very excited for game 5. Pivotal game 5, of course. We all know the numbers when in a 2-2 series, the winner of game 5 wins a lot of the time. It's a huge advantage for sure. So should be a good one. But Um, I'm loving this series so far, and I think the two teams are really fun to see them play against each other.
Yeah. This series has been super fun. Um, I I just don't know how you stop Nikola Jokic. I mean, he shot 7 for 22, still had 27 points, 13 rebounds. Like
That's as good as you're gonna do against him. If
I'm taking that
that's it,
every night.
that's how you beat the Nuggets right there. You beat the Nuggets by with the Jokic game where he has 26, 24, 26, whatever,
Yeah.
shoots like
Very 7 for 22.
he makes a
Yeah.
single digit number of field goals and shoots 20 plus field goals, 9 for 26, 7 for 22, whatever. And you limit what he's able to do as a facilitator. That's how you beat the Nuggets right
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. And if you can do that with Jokic, you force other guys to make plays that they're not necessarily comfortable with. And we saw that in game four. Aaron Gordon shot 5 for 10. Okay, that's fine with me. Michael Porter Jr., 1 for 7, 0 for 5 from three. Jamal Murray, 5 for 15, 2 for 5. Christian Brown 4 for 11, 2 for 9 for 3. And then we got textbook Westbrook game, 2 for 12, 2 for 9 from three. Tough to see that for my boy. But it was just like that. The Thunder just need to muck it up for Nikola Jokic. Obviously, that's easier said than done. But I just don't see this happening again. But on the other side of things, I don't see Jalen Williams shooting 2 for 13. I don't see Shet shooting 4 for 10. Dort was 2 for
Has Jalen Williams got going at all this series?
um
Maybe in game two, because it
probably
seems
in
like
game
probably
two.
everyone was going. I'm looking right now at game two. He was 6 for 11 in game two. Yeah, that'll play.
Yeah.
17.
Game four, he dropped 32. So he's kind of
Okay.
so
Okay,
he's
yeah.
kind of been getting going, but he really isn't one of our better scores. But if you can get 16 to 25 out of it, 15 to 25 out of him, that is a good day for him. But yeah, dude, it's a very interesting series. I'm super excited for the game tonight. Um, and it's going to be interesting who comes out of this. I expect this game to go seven. I do. Um, but yeah, with the two best players this season going at each other's throats, always going to be a fun matchup. But this series has definitely not gone in the style I thought it was going to go.
Now, give me your, the Thunder fan, give me your confidence. 10 being there's no doubt in your mind you're winning the series. 1 being there's no doubt in your mind you're losing the series.
Um, I'm at like a 6
Okay. All right.
because when you're facing I like our supporting cast more than I like the consistency of our supporting cast more than the consistency of the Nuggets. I do think like with Nikola Jokic, you can never be too comfortable.
Right.
And but I would give the slight edge to the Thunder, but it's very slight right now.
Sure.
And seeing what happens tonight is going to be interesting because we've seen it all this series so far.
Yeah. I mean, if 5 is a coin flip, then yeah, you're one above a coin flip.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, anything else on this NBA playoffs as we kind of wrap up this discussion?
I just again hope the Tatum stuff is really disappointing just on all levels. Obviously as a competitor, you want your team, especially when they are up, as I'm calling it, up 3-1 against a fully healthy Celtics, Porzingis, whatever. And then obviously missed the last like couple minutes of the game. I'm calling it 3-1 against a healthy Celtics. You like to be able to close that out against a healthy Celtics team. And then obviously the long-term implications. I mean, that's tearing an Achilles is that rehab is no walk in the park. But I have full confidence in the medical field and how it's advancements, and we've seen KD come back from something and still be something like that and still be one of
Yeah.
the premier scorers in the league. So hopefully there's no lasting damages or repercussions to that injury. But yeah, it sucks. But you know, I'm not going to be. It's one of those where I'm not going to be like upset at the Knicks beating out a fully healthy Celtics if they do go out and close the series. But it does suck for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It always sucks when the league superstars go down, and we've seen two major ones go down this postseason. So that always sucks. But a lot of people have been mentioning that this is one of the greatest NBA playoff uh, in recent history. Tanner, I want you to rank it on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best.
Ooh, as a whole, that's interesting because the first round I didn't think had much juice except for Clippers Nuggets, which of course didn't really deliver in game seven. And Rockets Warriors, the other games, like 7-game series. I don't know. It didn't feel like that series had much juice, even though it went to 7. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But then the second round started off red hot.
Yeah.
With the Knicks game, the Thunder game, then the Halliburton in game 2. But there have been some blowouts, since. Overall, if 5 is a perfectly average postseason, I'll go 6.5. It's not quite a 7 to me.
I agree with that.
It's not quite a 7, but it's more than a 6. So
Yeah.
I'll go 6.5.
I like that. I'll ride with you on that one. But any last thoughts on anything as we wrap up this show, man?
No, man. I think we should be in for a pretty good conclusion to the conference semifinals here. Teams are starting to get healthy. Specifically, the Cavs are starting to get healthy when they need it most, down to the last loss of their season. And yeah, the Knicks have been awesome. Really fun to watch them as well. So I'm excited to watch the end of the conference semifinals into the conference finals, and we'll have that coverage for sure next week and as we continue through the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. But that is going to wrap it up for episode 169 of Crunch Time with the N3262. Talked about a lot this episode. We talked about Pete Rose and the lifted bands of some of MLB's best players. Talked about the absolute domination by Mikko Rantanen, the NBA lottery, and the potential of rigging the system for the Dallas Mavericks, and of course the Colorado Rockies and their poor start to the season. And then, of course, we talked a little bit about the MLB, specifically that Mets and Cubs matchup this past weekend, and wrapped up the episode with NBA playoffs. You can follow the podcast on TikTok, X, and Instagram at crunchtime_pod. Follow, subscribe, like, and comment on the YouTube Crunch Time with the N3260. The clock has run out on this one. We'll see you on the next one on Crunch Time.
See ya.